Hello all. Welcome to Hockey Tap Podcast, episode 199F, because we can never get the whole crew together. I'm your host, Bill Dean. I'm, of course, here with my two co-hosts, Shorts and Steven. Shroom's off watching his Tampa Bay Lightning, and it really is a fun experience watching him watch his Tampa Bay Lightning, but he just can't take it for the sake of his family. We are brought to you by Preemptive Radio, courtesy of Mr. Sam Wu. I'm behind the glass. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Please leave us a 5-star review if you'd be ever so kind. Gents, what are you drinking?
I got myself the Dogfish Tropical Squall again. I still got a couple in the fridge. These are really, really good, so I think I'm going to get through some of these before I start getting some new ones. And fair warning, I'm going to be coughing during this podcast. Lucky for you, my germs aren't spread through microphone and only through kissing on the lips.
Yeah, thank goodness there's no spruce moose to have to take either. We'll take the spruce moose. True. Hop in.
I said, hop in?
Hop in.
Goodness.
I am drinking what I hope is one of the last glasses of Mudhead Yellow Flashing Lights until next November, because I'm not opening my new keg until I finish this one, or at least empty it somehow. I think I'm going to do what I did last year and start filling up mini growlers until
it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, that's what I did last year, which was kind of neat. Then I just popped in the fridge and I had a mini growler of the year previous ready to go for Thanksgiving and things like that. So I think that's what I'll do again.
Very nice. As you can see, there's a special guest downstairs here with me, so that's always entertaining.
I sure did.
I have a beer from Alicia, Casablanca Premium Beer. It's from Original Lager from Morocco.
Is it really premium?
Alicia made. It looks premium. I mean, look at this pop top. You actually pull.
That's weird. Oh, wow. That's
nifty.
Cool. Okay.
It's nifty.
They're light years ahead of us. Technology.
Yes,
they are light years ahead.
God, dog. Christ. Me.
Well,
okay, still got it.
They're light years ahead of us on the pop top, but not light years ahead of us on the taste. Oh, my God. Gross. I've had some real duds from Alicia, and I love it. That's so cool that she brings me back beer from other countries. But I think on the hit rate, if she's giving me 30 beers, I think 3 have been like beers I'd want again. So, but
I just couldn't believe when we were in New Zealand. I think I might have told you guys. I don't even remember if I told it on the air. We were in New Zealand. I was with a guy, awesome guy. First of all, my entire tour group was great, but it just what alarmed me was that he so desperately wanted to try Tui, which is a beer down in New Zealand, because it is described as the Bud Light of New Zealand.
Oh boy, that's how they market themselves.
That was what he wanted. It was how whoever described it to him did.
Did you have it?
Maybe they do. I didn't have it. No.
No,
I would have had it just to have it.
I actually didn't. I mean, I had a lot of New Zealand beers, but I didn't have Tui. I don't even remember seeing it, to be honest with you, which is weird because if it's the Bud Light of New Zealand, why the hell isn't it everywhere?
Good point.
But I might not have been looking hard enough also.
Too bad you couldn't hop to the country next door and have a Foster's. One of those really big cans of beer.
I have that can in my fridge from Steven from long ago, so I'm pretty sure it's probably skunked now, but we will try it because it seems like a fun time. Anyways, let's get what's on tap. Yeah. For today's episode, here is our weekly snapshot. So the playoffs have been going on, and it's been rather exciting. I don't think, especially in the West, right? The West is tied 2-2 in every series. We've had teams like Colorado on that first game. It looked like Colorado was going to go just and sweep Dallas, and Dallas comes back 2-1. Finally, you have the winner with Landeskog, who makes his triumphant return in Game 3. In Game 4, he scores a pivotal goal, and they're tied to 2-2. We'll go over that series in a little bit. You have, I think, the biggest shocker of a series in Minnesota, giving it to Vegas, and behind Boldy and Kaprizov, they've looked really good. Gustafsson has played much better than Aiden Hill, which is not a good thing if you're Vegas Golden Knights. In obviously the big series, talking about Colorado, sorry. Winnipeg Jets, the President's Trophy winners, Mr. Hellebuck, the possible MVP and surefire Vezina winner, has
Definitely
been
not
pulled
MVP.
twice. He might get it. There's a lot of people thinking that there's a lot of people think that he might get it.
Nope.
All right. Well, you're not listening to anybody.
No, absolutely
not.
100%.
Did Elliot Friedman say it?
If he's nominated, I'll be shocked. But he's absolutely 100%. I will bet every single.
You said
dollar
if he's
that
nominated, you'll be shocked.
Yes, if he's nominated, I'll be shocked, and I will bet everything that I own that
Who,
he
wait,
does
wait,
not
wait,
win
wait.
the Hart.
Who do you think has not? What 3 players would you put on there that you think were more MVP than he was this season?
Well, 100% Kucherov and McKinnon are going to be in there.
Okay.
And
who's the third player you'd put as MVP over Hellebuck?
I don't know. Let me take a glance.
All right. Well, I'll let you decide that. That's a crazy statement.
It's not going to be a goalie. It is not going to be a goalie.
It's been goalies before. We've seen it.
Not win.
Yeah, we have. Carey Price,
in our
Jose
lifetime.
Theodore.
In our lifetime, we've seen 2.
Can we go to the live shot of?
We've seen 4.
Can we go to a live shot of Schwim at all?
It's not going to happen.
Steven, in our lifetime, we've seen 4.
Yeah, in our lifetime, I'm 42.
Well, actually, we might even seen more because if you count Hasek twice, technically 5.
Okay, so no one is doing what. So, Jesus Christ, I can't even think of his name. Connor Hellebuck is not doing what Carey Price did. Is not doing what Dominik Hasek did ever in his career. So those are 3 Hart trophies right there.
So wait,
no,
you think that
I don't think he won twice.
Carey Price's Hasek won it twice. You think that Carey Price's 2014-15 is not comparable to Hellebuck's year this year?
I think that season was better. Carey Price
is that just because you can't name a player that had a better season that year?
No, I'm trying to get to regular season friggin' that year. Oh, can't even think of anybody. I can't think back that far to see.
All right, so Price that year,
but that year was incredible, and he
it was. I'm not taking
Hellebuck
is
Hellebuck is on a juggernaut. Carey Price was absolutely not.
You think that this Jets team's a juggernaut?
Mm-hmm.
If he was on Colorado or Dallas, I'd be like, that's. But
Winnipeg is stacked.
This is not where I thought this conversation was going to go to at first.
They don't have a Mark. They don't have Mark. Jesus, I don't know what the heck is going on with me today. I had 2 sips of beer I haven't had in a while, and now I'm all antsy in the pantsy. They don't have a Nathan McKinnon. They don't have a Cal McCarr type. They don't have even probably the sexy star power of Dallas. But their roster is loaded with talent that most people don't talk about. One of whom is a perennial most underrated of the season in Kyle Connor. Mark Scheifele not being on Team Canada is shocking to me. And then you have Morrissey, who's again also top defenseman. And then you go up and down the lineup, and there's no weakness. They're physical, they're big, they're fast, they have literally everything, and they're falling apart at the seams now because now they don't have any goal, not a semblance of goaltending. I think I really do like Connor Hellebuck, and I think he is a fantastic goaltender. But there's something about him that just cannot go to the next level, and I think that his stats.
It's a regular season.
He played incredible.
Count the playoffs.
I know. I'm not talking about playoffs. I'm not talking about playoffs. I'm not talking about playoffs. What I'm talking about is that I think that a lot of he benefited from having to make 16, 17 saves most nights. Some nights, low 20s. I had him on my fantasy team. He's winning me games, but he's never getting me big points because he only has like 17 saves a game. He'll have a shutout with 14 saves. I get, you think a shutout, you're getting major points, and I'm getting, some guy had let up 4 goals but had 44 saves, has the same amount of points. I don't mean to bring fantasy in it because that's irrelevant to his performance. But I'm saying that I think that a lot of his stats were based on the performance of his team. And I think Carey Price literally backboned that team into any sort of relevance, true MVP status, which is why Hellebuck is not the reason why Winnipeg is where they were. He's not the reason why he is a part of the reason why they won the President's Trophy, but he's certainly not the reason why they won the President. They didn't ride him through the season to the amount of wins that they had and the amount of points that they have in the President's Trophy that they're going to win. I don't think it's the MVP of the league, right? I don't even think he's his team's MVP.
Who do you think is his team's MVP? You are bewildering me right now.
You can name a couple. I mean, Scheifele had a career year. There's multiple guys on that squad this year had career years.
Scheifele had a career year.
Yes, he did. He had career points. I think would Connor have career goals? There's a couple. Lowry had career goals. There's like 4 or 5 guys that had career years this year on Winnipeg, and you can't look down.
Kyle Connor 97. Obviously, Kyle Connor had a career year because he's reaching point totals that he's never had before. Scheifele had 39 goals, which where does that put him in his?
He had a career year in points.
84 is his previous career high at 87. Okay. He had 42 goals.
And I think Lowry had a career year in goals. So you have multiple guys on the team with career years. So you're asking for an opinion here. I'm obviously not the friggin' word of God, but
I'm more astounded by you saying shock. I think I'm more astounded by you saying shock for at least him being voted in. Not being one of the 3 is.
Yeah, I think
you're going to get blown out of the water by that.
I've been shocked before. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but I don't believe that he's the MVP of the team, let alone, having what credentials to be MVP of the league. I don't think he was the MVP of his team as well as he did, and I'm not going to discredit the season that he had.
Different years, 01-02, which was Jose Theodore. He had 30 wins that year, which.
Now we're going to a different generation at this point.
I know. He had a 211 goals against, a 931 save, 7 shutouts. Obviously, he was, people were a little shocked that he won MVP that year. Carey Price, his year in 2014-15, 44 wins. He had a 196 goals against, a 933 save percentage, and 9 shutouts. That on his team, on Carey Price's team that year, you had Max Pacioretty, who led their team in points. He was 6th in Selke voting. PK Subban was 3rd in Norris voting. He had 60 points as a defenseman. He had a really good year. What?
Draisaitl will be 3. McKinnon, Kucherov, Draisaitl.
All right. Markov had 50 points. He had the team he played in front of was Brendan Gallagher was a rookie. He had 47 points. This team's not together. Not all that bad. Alex Galchenyuk, as a rookie, had 46 points. And then Connor Hellebuck this year, a 2 goals against average, a 930 save percentage, 8 shutouts, 47 wins.
47, correct.
It's different, right? It's different eras. You can't compare, but those numbers are right in line with all the other guys that have won MVPs as goaltenders. And I realize that the stats for scoring is a lot different. You have guys that are in the 120s, 130s. And absolutely Kucherov should be up there. I just think that 2-3 one of them has.
You're automatic. So I'm saying automatic in this generation of players in the league, whatever, automatic. Art Ross, geez, I'm really dying here. Hart Trophy nominees are the Art Ross Trophy winner, Nikita Kucherov, and the Rocket Richard winner, Leon Draisaitl. Those are almost automatic that they're going to be 1 and 2, right? And then I don't think you can't put McKinnon there. I don't think you can include him.
Listen, I'll buy you multiple zonas if he doesn't get in it. I think that one of them is absolutely going to be the goaltender. He's just been talked about by everybody, and not just by Friedman. You always mention that, but I've heard everybody talk about him as an MVP candidate, and oh, there we go. There's Tampa. I didn't see what you said. You saw before. I'm a little bit behind.
Yep.
Tampa scored.
That's why I
Who
said
scored that one?
we wish we had a live look in. I don't know. I don't know who scored it. So I wish we had a live look in.
1-1. Are they going to wave this off?
No way.
Oh,
No,
Mitchell
absolutely
Chafee?
not.
All right, well, they're a bunch
Give me
of
a
people.
break.
They're looking at the.
Give me a break.
So-
I mean, maybe they'll look at
Oh,
it.
they're
but
saying
no.
it came in contact with him.
is
Well, I
this
mean,
a
he
goalie
sort of did at
interference?
the end there.
No.
Yeah, it's a goalie
Well,
interference.
well, you're saying that 28 Chafee or not 28?
'There's, I
22.
mean, they didn't even review it. So Chafee didn't
good.
if he grazed him with his jersey, maybe, but whoever was
Well,
sliding
I don't
there
think it was
sorta-
him. Yeah, it's the
sorta-
sliding.
Hey,
It's
there you go.
28.
2-1. That was fast.
2-1 who?
Why
Wow, I'm
is
so far
Cooper
behind you.
screaming on the bench? Why is he mad? He's definitely Schwim. Okay, so now I know where Schwim gets it from. Now I know.
Is that
Now-
coach?
Yeah, he's scoring.
Wow.
Cooper's screaming on the bench. Does anybody else see this?
I think
Yeah,
I'm
he is.
behind.
Yeah, he is screaming. What
Just
is he
watch-
going nuts
They score. They score, and watch how pissed he is.
for? That's actually very funny. I don't know what's going on here.
I'm so far behind. I'm just about to see it now. Boom.
You even get the first goal yet?
No. I just got the second one.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
that's
don't know why he
totally,
was losing it.
that's
And there's
totally a
Schwim.
Schwim
They
move.
score. They score to go up 2-1, and Schwim's response is, "These refs are absolutely effing pathetic." They
What was he saying? Like
literally
a
just up.
penalty?
I have no idea. Mine's on mute, so I have no idea. Cooper's screaming about
Yeah.
something, but they scored twice. So would you rather a power play and no goal? I don't understand. Like, what do you want? What are we
I
talking
don't
about
know. Yeah, because
We're
no matter what, it
talking
would have been
about-
waved off. So
here?
that is very
we're
funny.
talking about Connor Hellebuck being MVP. That's what we're talking
It's the
about.
Tampa Schwims. It really is. It's the Tampa Schwims. All right, so let's go to this series real quick. Obviously, 2-1 Florida.
Hold on, may I
Um,
say something about Hellebuck?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
The only like the question that I have, just to kind of argue, I guess, a little bit. Winnipeg had
For whose
56
side?
wins, and well, just listen. Winnipeg had a total of 56 wins, and 47 of them came from Hellebuck. Now, Steven, I was looking at the stats. Yeah, there were a bunch of games where he had, below 30 shots. I get that. But would they have won those 47 games without him?
I mean, you have. I do agree with you because I don't think Eric Comrie was very good, and I think Eric Comrie basically sort of lost them games, which is
He had
brings me back
9.
to
He had 9 of their wins.
Comrie.
Yeah, because
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of
Hellebuck
times
had
where he's.
47.
Yeah, I'm not going to discredit. Like, I think Hellebuck is hands down the Vezina Trophy winner. I'm saying he is
Yeah.
not the MVP.
They the Winnipeg, the Jets. I'm assuming the Jets will win the Jennings Trophy as well,
Yeah,
having the
I
most
don't-
wins in the league.
Maybe. No, Jennings
I
is Jennings wins or is
no,
it?
Jennings the
I thought it's
goaltender,
combined stats, combined save
it is.
percentage, right?
They're
I think they.
I don't think Comrie's stats weren't great, so I'm not sure.
yeah, no, they really, really weren't. But would the Jets have been anywhere without Hellebuck? But Hellebuck's, his big glaring thing is right now his playoff performance and his clutch game performance, which we saw in the gold medal game, are just not
Right.
great. He's a great regular season goalie. You could definitely make the argument that without him and
Yeah,
his-
that's not
those
up for debate,
47
yeah.
wins, without the 47 wins that he backstopped, the Jets would not have won the President's Trophy, which they won by 5 points. Washington was right behind them. Neither of their goalies. Logan Thompson's not going to be anywhere in that conversation. But it's hard to argue that his wins were what were the reason why the Jets were as good as they were. And it's a 15 save game is not all that. It doesn't seem like it's a lot, but it also those aren't always the easiest games to play either. So
Not always. It depends on high danger, and you can always get cold, and
You fall-
any shot
fall asleep.
turns into an adventure. Yeah, but I mean, I'm just like I'm not like I'm saying.
Hellebuck already won the Jennings. Just letting you know.
He won the
He already won
Jennings.
Yeah,
Okay.
He didn't win the. They won the Jennings.
Well, but it under the it's weird. Every tandem is listed on here as 23 it was Olmark Swayman, 22 is Anderson Ronta. For 24 and 25, it just says Connor Hellebuck's name. I don't know if and like at 2018 it just says Jonathan Quick. 2017 it just says Holtby. 2020
What does it say for the Brodeur years? What does it say for like the Brodeur years? Like the mid
Did they have?
to
They
late
might not have had
2004, 2003 they have Brodeur, but 2003 they have Czechmanek Esch. Oh, they split it, right? It was Brodeur and Czechmanek and Robert Esch. I think they both got it in 23.
How
So I
long?
guess
The
there must-
Jennings
Yeah,
is
that's
relatively
weird.
new, isn't it?
It must be something
Mid-
where it's been 82. 1982 was the first Jennings. It must be something where if you control most of the stats, you just get it by yourself. If you have more of a split, then
No, because it's combined. It's always combined. So that doesn't make it the trophy in itself.
I
By
don't know
definition, is combined save percentage.
Well, look on. I'm
Not
just
just
saying.
the
Look on
best
the
save percentage in
Williams
the league.
Jennings Trophy winners, and it's some
I don't know
some are
why
just
it's listed
singles,
that
some
way.
are doubles. Like 2021, it's Fleury Leonard. 2020, it's Rask Halak.
But also, I'm curious also because what if a third or fourth goalie is in that also?
They'd have to have a
Because
pretty big split.
The team save percentage, is it just 2? I don't know. I don't know enough about the trophy. To be honest,
goaltenders playing. Hold on. I got it right here. Trophy presented to the goaltenders or goaltender having played a minimum of 25 games for the teams with the fewest goals scored
So you have to
against
play a
it
minimum
during
of
the regular
25.
season. 25, yes. So that's
why.
Fewest goals.
So it's straight Hellebuck because no one else played 25 games.
Yeah. He played, because he played the majority of the games for them, so that it would be him.
Yeah.
Like there are years.
Oh, both goalies would have had to play 25 games. Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like 97, 98, Marty won it, and the runner-up was Ed Belfour, and this is in the era where Brodeur was playing 75 of 82 games.
Yeah.
Well, see,
but then
so
the year before was Brodeur and Dunham.
Yeah, Dunham. It says Brodeur Dunham, and then 98 is just Brodeur.
But there's a little R next
99,
to
99 is Belfour, Roman Turek, and then 2000 is just Roman Turek.
Yeah. So I guess it's just a matter of who played 25.
Yeah.
Minimum of 25 games. I'm trying to see what these little R's are next to some of these goaltenders, and I'm not quite sure. There's no key here, which would tell me that
Rookie,
information. Maybe? Could have been.
Rookie?
Could be rookie. Yeah, Corey Snyder, 10-11. I guess that would be his rookie season. Yeah, Mike Dunham. Yeah, I guess that would be Mike Dunham's rookie season.
That was won it in 10-11?
Is that what it says?
Oh, yeah, Corey Schneider was with Vancouver. That's right. Corey Schneider. I was thinking Corey Schneider of the Devils. Yeah.
No. That was his Winnipeg day. Or not Winnipeg, excuse me, his Vancouver days.
Well, we have completely gone off any sort of topic. This is
like we're ever on topic.
Yeah, I know. I try to steer us in a general direction, but I usually fail miserably. Okay, I'm actually going to go on Facebook, see if there's any questions, because I'm sure we went down rabbit holes that people all want to tag in on. So we appreciate everybody's following along with the shit show that is Hockey on Tap podcast, especially when Shroom's on, because he is the biggest pain in our arses. YouTube Live, appreciate everybody listening. All right.
By the way, we had Scotty from the Let's Go Devils podcast is out east this week, so I got to see him in person.
Oh, yes?
Yeah. It was the Devils game the last 2 nights.
Devils game. By the way, I just want to state this, going back to Hellebuck, it's an uncomfortable position that you put me in because I do think he's hands down the Vezina Trophy winner. And this is like going to arbitration for a contract.
Shock
and I have to
thing.
And you're forcing me to convince you why I shouldn't pay more money. So now I'm forced to convince you why I don't think Connor Hellebuck should win it. And I'm not trying to downgrade his season because it was incredibly impressive, but he's
I'm going to send your clip to Connor Hellebuck on Twitter, and I hope he roasts you.
He's going to
I hope he roasts you.
Steven, you're in the backseat of a Volkswagen, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Like
Jets
the
Blues
vaccine.
we just
Nope.
talked about 2-2, and just Hellebuck getting pulled 2 games, which hadn't happened all game or all the season. That's been a big test, and we'll see what happens in Game 5 back in Winnipeg. And then the last series out west, the Kings Oilers, and after 2 games, I was dreading my Oilers pick, but these last 2 games, Oilers, they are the comeback kids, and cardiac kids. Yesterday, coming back, 20 seconds left, Draisaitl, and then what's his name? The defenseman gets it in overtime. The Kings,
No,
they are
Bouchard
scoring.
tied it, and
Bouchard.
Draisaitl got in overtime.
Oh, that's what it was. Sorry, opposite. Um, the Kings, I think I saw something that they had in the previous series against Edmonton, the previous 4 series. Their max goal total was 20 in a 7-game series they had against the Oilers back 3 years ago. This in the first 4 games of this playoffs, they have 19, so they're scoring with Edmonton. Now they just can't play defense, and I think the Kings need to settle back because those first 2 games they beat them 6-1, 6-2, and they were throttling them, playing their game, and all of a sudden they just let the wheels come off. So it's pretty interesting what's going to happen in Game 5 with the Kings back in LA. Let's see if they do that stupid harmonica band. Out west, any thoughts on any of these series? What you like, what you don't like? Any surprises?
The Oilers will never win because they don't have goaltending.
Well, they can win the first 2 series.
If they win, it's because they have unstoppable offense,
Which they do
but
right
when
now.
when they need their goaltender, it's just not going to be there because they've already put what's his name in. They've already pulled Skinner for
Skinner. Well, did you see the memes for Skinner? In the after the
No.
first game, they said that the Kings have scouted Skinner, and it just says shoot.
It sounds about right.
That was
I
pretty
think it
good.
comes down to the Kings holding a lead. I think that's what it is. And the Kings, I mean,
Yeah.
the Kings have been the better team in all 4 games. In fact, this very well could have been a sweep if all they did was, buckle down and keep a lead. Kemper has been shaky, so I'm not thrilled about that because we talk all the talk about is Edmonton's goaltending, but with games 3 and 4, they had the lead and then it just evaporated.
Well, look at Washington without Kemper versus with Kemper. Washington was a much better team this year without him.
Yeah, although I don't think their goals either. I mean, you've heard me voice my opinion on Lindgren, but I'm not convinced with Logan Thompson, to be honest.
I think I'd prefer him
But
over Kemper, though.
he might be. Yeah, I might. Yes, but I don't think that's. I think that's just basically saying who's better in the middle of the pack goaltenders, who's better. Even though once again, Logan Thompson had great statistics this year. I don't want to downplay that. Washington had a great season this year, and I think Logan Thompson played very well at times. But I think it's just too small of a sample size.
You know what Logan Thompson does hate?
Shorts guy, that's for sure.
Yes, he does. He hates shorts guy in his ear. He'd rather get injured than have to deal with shorts guy again. How much do Montreal fans want to pay me to go down to Washington and just start yelling at Logan Thompson?
If they only knew. Yeah, get you glass seats.
They do.
Yeah.
They need to get you in there. McDavid and Draisaitl leading in points at 9. But Adrian Kempe, also part of that Kings series.
That's who I've been.
4
Kempe's
goals.
been fantastic. Fantastic.
So, Steven, he has been fantastic, but only on the power play. He's a -5 in the series total.
Okay.
But that means he has 9 points, and he's a -5 in 4 games.
Yeah, their power plays rolling.
That's not good. Oh, it's humming.
LA.
Yeah. He has 5 assists.
Yeah, all of their players might. Oh my god! I don't know what just happened. All of their players. I haven't looked at the stats, but I wouldn't be surprised if all their players are minuses because I think all of their goals have come on the power play.
Pretty much, yeah. Philip Deneau is a +3, but that's because he's a defensive stalwart.
+3.
A +3. Cam Fowler, leading defenseman with 8 points in 4 games. He's been really good for St. Louis. He has 2 goals. He has 5 assists on the power play. Kaprizov with 4 goals, and he is, like we said, in the Minnesota Vegas series. He's been awesome. Him and Boldy have essentially holding everybody on their backs. Any negatives? Anything you're watching in the West Series before we go East that you like, dislike? Well, I said dislike. Anything you dislike, play wise?
I'm gonna throw this out there and probably catch some crap for it. I'm kind of bored of the Dallas Colorado matchup. It's just not.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Like,
Did the
it's just,
Landeskog give you a jump? Landeskog coming back give you a jump?
I don't know. It's just something about the matchup between those two. It's to me boring. Like I probably should like
Okay.
it more than I do.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Shorts guy. There is one series that is just excruciating to watch.
Oh, we
And
know
it
which one that is.
involves-
We'll get to it soon.
It involves somebody's favorite team in this.
Yes,
this
no, I know.
thread right now.
We'll get into
know.
that in a little bit.
I was there in person
Little
yesterday.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I mean, besides Hellebuck, who's been bad.
Not to interrupt you, I do kind of agree. I mean, I was really hyped about that series, and it's been good, but it just hasn't been great.
I don't know. Like
Dallas has had
it's
a lot of
something-
injuries.
Yeah,
I don't know.
know, it's
I've
just-
always had this affinity for the teams that I never get to see regularly, and I feel like I see those teams so often now because
There's
of
just not a
the
fire,
national broadcast.
You know, there's not like that.
There's just-
There's no bad blood. They're
no,
just kind of playing hockey,
it's just
which is
boring.
fine.
Which is
but-
crazy because they're in division rivals, and one team took the other
Yeah.
team's player off of a midseason
Well,
trade. Like
yeah,
you figure there's be some bad blood. Like I want to beat the crap out of Rantanen because he
Yeah, but-
went to
but
Dallas.
also
and shot the
Brandon-
division
much-
rival,
Brandon
right?
didn't
so
want
much
to be traded.
physical distance. There's so
True,
much
I
physical
know.
distance between them.
Yeah.
So it's hard to have a rivalry.
Brandon didn't want to be. Brandon didn't push his way out. Like he didn't want to be traded. You know that came
Yeah.
to a shock to him. So I don't think his teammates are like bad blood there. Plus,
But
they
I
had no
guess-
control that he would end up back in Dallas. You trade
Yeah,
him to
well, I mean, he
Carolina.
got
You're like, all
picked,
right, he's gone. And then and then all of a sudden he's there. But yeah, it's just there's not a lot of fire there. So I don't know. I feel like there's fire in most series.
Yeah.
But,
I said it before, but Aiden Hill is
Especially
getting
one.
outplayed by
very
Gustafsson.
unlikely one. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
And Gustafsson
and-
had a hard time at the end of the regular season. Like
yeah,
getting
he did.
anything.
He was not good.
He struggled.
Yeah,
at
They were
the
thinking
end of
about
the regular
Fleury.
season.
Minnesota stunk.
Yeah,
Yes,
they were
did.
thinking Fleury might be one of the.
They lost to us.
Maybe possible starter.
Twice.
Yeah, they were stinky.
Wow, everybody's in Vasi's crease right now. Jesus.
Fassi
Uh,
looks human. This is the first time
he-
I've ever seen Fassi look human.
Not in these. He's played three consecutive games. He's played phenomenal. He lost
I-
1-0. The goal sucked. Okay, I'll give you that. The goal was terrible, but still 1-0. And then he wins 5-1, and now it's 2-1. So Vasi's
2-1,
looking
but-
like Vasi.
Well,
But I still like the first goal he let up today. Like just watching.
he
it,
lost.
I didn't.
It's
see
like a
this
goal
goal.
I would
He
let
lost
up. Like
six-
that's not supposed to let that
he
up.
did lose
Oh,
6
no, I
to 2
did.
because that's why his goals against is high.
Yeah. That was bad. Obviously, that was bad. But I think games 2 through 4, well, 2 periods of game 4, I think he's looked solid. And he's
He lost-
Yeah, I mean, he looks-
sometimes you expect too much of him, but that first goal is just the guy's wide open in front. So
No, I know.
you
I just- I
expect
don't
him
know,
to
it just
save
feels like-
everything, but
Yeah,
that's a great
because
A
he has.
opportunity.
Because he has in the last couple
He
seasons.
typically
like,
has. Yeah.
He's the goalie that all you got to do is score one in the first, and forget it, he'll shut it down. Especially if it's a game 7 type situation. I don't know.
Yeah.
He just seems like
Well, you look at it now.
You
This
know,
is if you're going to see
human.
vintage Vasi, he's going to shut the rest of this third period down. If you
He's
got
got
if
to,
you got
yeah.
Vasi, if you got Vasi, who is still unanimously the best goal again. Also, the player is voting unanimously the best goalie in the world again,
Mhm.
and Connor Hellebuck isn't. And I don't know. I just for the amount of Vezinas that Hellebuck's it's gonna be his third Vezina, I think, right? Second consecutive and
Yeah.
3 total. And he's still never going to be considered the best in the world. Which is just such a wild
he's not clutch.
concept.
He's because he's
Well,
not
yeah,
clutch.
he's not clutch. Exactly. Yeah.
He's
Exactly.
good when he's got the time and the space and the the ability to
He's not even
where
considered
today
the second best.
he's good when it counts today, but it's it's okay if if you don't win today.
Listen, he's a top 3 goalie in the NHL, and you could top 3 to 5. There's 3 guys, 4 guys that I'd put in that conversation, and he's definitely one of them. All right, so the rest of the series, right? Lightning are up 2-1 right now, but they're down in the series 2-1 to Florida. You had the first game with these two teams where Florida just steamrolls Tampa 6-2 win, and we could hear Schwim screaming from East Hanover from his mom's house. That second game, a little closer, 2-0, 1-0 in the series, but that hit with Hagel, which Schwim immediately.
That's 3 consecutive games now with bad hits. 3 straight.
Yeah.
I like physicality and all, but like I don't like this. I don't like this part. I don't like where this is like you're thinking if somebody's going to get suspended.
So the hit Hagel's hit on Barkov was A, late, and B, interference because he doesn't even. Barkov never even touches the puck. He had nothing to do with it. He tried to get it on the wraparound. It didn't even touch him. He just gets he just gets rocked, and it was bad and absolutely suspendable. They give him 1 game. The hit by Tkachuk, while maybe a little less severe because Gensel touched the puck, it was even later than the timing that Barkov got hit, and it's a retaliation. It's a retaliation hit. So how does that not get suspended?
Yeah,
because I understand
I thought
he touched the puck, fine, but
yeah, and I thought that time of game. I mean, granted, there was 5 minutes left.
You think end of the game?
But at that point, I think it was 4. Was it 4-1 at that point?
4-1.
So it's is it like that whole sending a message thing? I thought that they were going to do away with that. I thought it was also worth a 1-game suspension. You set a precedent on Hagel's. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know. But for a half a second, you think the league could potentially be consistent, and they aren't.
No. And did you guys both see the quotes from the coaches?
No, I didn't see any quotes.
So Paul Maurice, after the hit on Barkov in that thing, goes, "We only hit players with the puck." And straight-faced, that was it. That was the end of it. Cooper, the most straight-faced line I've ever seen, says the exact same thing after Tkachuk. "We only hit players that touch the puck." And people were just thought it was absolutely hysterical and nod to both coaches. I don't think there's animosity between these two because they respect the hell out of each other and what they've done. But very funny, these two coaches just gamesmanship. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing this hit on Ekblad wasn't even a penalty.
Yeah, it wasn't.
So Schwim sent me this clip, and I was trying to look at it, and I'm trying to figure it out. Well, first of all, let me say, number one, it is a very bad elbow. But I'm trying to figure out, I think either way, I think it's absolutely a penalty. But I'm trying to figure out where the elbow hits, because it looks like his hand is up high. His hand ends up by his ear, but it looks like the elbow is below his chin. So it doesn't look like a direct shot to the head.
It's pretty darn close.
Horrible elbow.
Now. That's horrible.
I think that's absolutely a 5-minute major.
He forearm shivers him. He literally forearm shivers him.
So we got nothing for that?
Winds up, yes. I don't even think.
And the ref is literally watching the entire play,
staring at him,
nothing.
No, that's a linesman staring at him, which the linesman.
That's the ref. Number 2 is right looking at him.
I'm watching, but the ref. If you watch where the ref is, his line of vision kind of turns. He kind of just catches it, the end of it.
Yeah, maybe he's not.
It could look like just like a hit.
Yeah,
but also if he's hitting if that elbow comes down and makes contact in this area. So if I'm Hagel right now, Hagel and his elbow, so his hand ends up here, right? It looks like his hand ends up here, but it looks like the trajectory of his elbow comes down this way, right? And I think the point of impact ends up being right here, right in the right under the chin area.
Not so much here or here, but right
here. But I'm not going to. I mean, that's a egregious elbow, and
it's horrible.
It's
Jesus.
So here's the only thing that the NHL refs are consistent
in. There can still be discipline.
He
something
should
like
be
those explosive
suspended for that.
penalties in the game.
So then the only thing the refs are consistent in are being inconsistent because
Yeah.
Same thing with DPOS.
in yesterday's Devils game, Timo Meyer fell into Freddie Anderson, and they gave him a 5-minute major because Freddie Anderson wound up getting
Did they
hurt.
review it and
They reviewed it and they said there was no call on the
rescinded it?
play. They
Okay.
rescinded
Yeah,
it.
that I didn't. It
No
should have been a
penalty at all.
2-minute penalty, but it should have been 2 minutes. But
this gets nothing.
Yeah,
Looking
it's
at this,
crazy.
like this is more brutal than
Well, you're
far more
almost
brutal
and
than anything Timo
you
Meyer
almost
did.
see sometimes like I'll give the refs some credit. I mean, hockey is the fastest sport, and there's so many obstructions. You only have two refs. The linesmen can give their input, but I do see refs err on the side of caution and call things either a 5-minute major or a 4-minute double minor for high sticking
because it can be reviewed.
Because it allows them to review it. Yes.
Yep.
So then they can go and see and then make the decision there, and then they come back and typically they'll make the right decision based on review. Sometimes there's puzzling results, but most of the time the right call ends up being made after review. This obviously, for whatever reason, nobody saw any sort of penalty, so they can't review anything. So no power play comes of it, but it's still It's still reviewable by the league, and I hope that something is handed out because that's bad. And Hagel hasn't returned.
Schwim saying that it's worse than the two combined. I don't know about that, but it's bad.
That's what I said. I don't know if it's necessarily worse, but it's definitely bad, and it's certainly reviewable by the league. Tkachuk didn't get a game suspension. This is the elbow. It's violent with the elbow, regardless of whether or not he hits his head.
Yeah.
So I think it's suspendable. What the hell is my opinion count as far as player safety?
Just as long as he's not an artist.
I do want Schwim to come on because it'd be a very funny piece. So I'd have to make this probably F-rated, but
he can take my spot.
Oh man, yeah. No, I could pull him up. I could do 4. It's easy.
No, you can just take me off. I don't want to.
You don't want to hear about it. Probably take me a few minutes to get on. All right, so you have that 2-1 up 2-1, Florida. The series that I thought has a little more gumption than I thought it would. Canadians and Capitals.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best.
And Wilson.
I think it's one of the best series. I think it's one of the best series.
Anderson and Wilson, just going at it.
It seems like such a nothing matchup, right? It's just Washington, number 1 seed against Montreal, who kind of squeaked their way into that 8th seed.
Yeah.
They look pretty good at the end of the season, so maybe they'll give them a run for their money. But Montreal is just – I didn't expect them to be this physical.
I didn't either.
They are finishing checks all over the rink and producing from it. And Washington might be up 3-1, but I think we had, an overtime game?
Yeah.
And then yesterday they just couldn't hang on the lead. And you can chalk that up to inexperience with that team. They're young and whatever. But just based on this, again, I don't say often, I feel like it's almost 50-50 that you see a team like that and an 8 seed and they bring all this energy into the playoffs and it just doesn't carry over into the next season. But I think that if it does, I think Montreal is a team to watch next season because I don't think they're going to make it out of the series. I hope that they win game 5 to make it to 6 games because it's an exciting series. But yeah, I don't see them coming out of this. But it's a fun series.
They could push them. They could definitely push them.
Yeah. I hope they do.
They're without their starting goaltender Montembeault. Dobish was in net in game 4. Yep. Let's go quickly Montreal and Senators, and then we'll go to Devs and the Hurricanes. So Montreal and Senators. Montreal.
Toronto
Maple
and
Leafs
Ottawa.
are up 3-0. Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
Toronto up 3-0, and then obviously the Senators finally get the last win. I think that Shrimp is not going to come on. He's feeding his daughter, who he probably woke up because he's a screaming, babbling buffoon. Toronto was up 3-0, kind of running the series. Ottawa comes back, gets the win in Game 4. But I feel like this is the series. Yeah.
And
But
one
for the most
shot,
part,
one
I
shot
felt
difference. Oh, Leah Huxtall's on. Everybody be quiet. No, but
I was going to say that this series making me laugh. This series is the one that I thought would be like a bloodbath, just like Tampa
yeah,
and Florida. And I haven't seen as much as I'd like. I know Wrigley
no,
Greig had the whole, back and forth with Stolarz. Where
yeah.
how does Stolarz not get the penalty there when he slashes him like 3
I
times
don't know.
and then checks him to the ice? And then
Yeah,
Greig
I don't know.
was actually the one who got the penalty. It was very funny, but just I wanted more. I wanted Kachuk to go at it with Matthews and I wanted chaos, and I'm just not getting in the series.
I feel like there isn't
Yeah,
much.
no, it's not really there. Although that the series could be very different. You're talking about games 2, 3, and 4 all overtime. One shot changes is the difference maker, right? And if it's one shot's the difference maker, Ottawa could be up 3-1 also, but they're not.
Yeah, I guess
it's a whole different
play
story at this point.
play domination. Like Toronto's controlled the puck much more. They've had the puck.
Yeah, you got so much
I
more
understand that doesn't
skill.
win
Yeah.
games. Yeah, I understand that doesn't win games. We see it all the time, but I just feel like Toronto's had more of the series, and
Toronto has
mean,
looked. I think Toronto's looked good and for the most part
Yeah.
in control. So when they do win those games in overtime, most of the time you're not surprised because they were controlling the
control
game,
the puck.
and it was just basically a matter of time before they scored, unless Ottawa could figure out a way to do it, which they did in Game 4. But it does seem like Toronto's they're playing well. I expected more out of Ottawa. I picked Ottawa out of the series because I figured Toronto was just going to do Toronto things. And I liked Ottawa at the end of the season. I thought they had a very strong end of the season there. And, with Allmark potentially being a difference maker. But I guess they just can't overcome Toronto's talent. So
Yeah,
that's another series that I suspect will be over soon.
End of 2, Lightning still up 2-1. All right, Shorts, your team.
Yep.
Carolina Hurricanes up 3-1 on the Devils. Obviously, the first game, Hurricanes, were pretty dominant in that Game 1 victory. And unfortunately, that's when you face the 2 injuries, actually 3 injuries. One guy's back, right? But Dylan went out that game. Same thing with Luke Hughes. And then you had Cody Glass going out because his goaltender slashed him instead of slashing Svechnikov, which was a very funny thing. And he actually laughed about it afterwards, saying that he should have gotten out of the way of him getting ready to slash him. But obviously you win 3-2 in that 2 overtime game. But 4-1 win, 3-1 win, 5-2 win, and listen, you guys have a lot of injuries, but I have not seen the fighting spirit of the New Jersey Devils this series.
Yeah, we were talking about that last night in Devils After Dark. Like, where is it? Like, what's the issue? You got fight coming from Markstrom. I can tell you that. That's been there.
Yeah, he's played well
all season for him. He's played very well. Who would have thought a goalie would be slightly mental? I never would assume such things. But other than that, it just seems like this. I was there yesterday, so just kind of watching. It's a combination of two things. One, they look like they're just like they've got no fight in them, but at the same time, Carolina is so stifling that they clog the middle with such expertise and such efficiency that they're looking for the perfect shot when all they got to do is just try to get it through the sea of legs. But yesterday wasn't good. I mean, we went down within the first minute. That sucked. And then it becomes 2-1, 3-0. Then Heischer scores, and then Timo scores, and it's 3-2. It's like, all right, cool. There's some life in this, and then all of a sudden they just couldn't do anything in the third. We were perplexed yesterday. I mean, aside from, the goaltending was right, which we've needed the goaltending to be right the last couple seasons because everything else was kind of clicking, and now the goaltending's clicking and nothing else is right, and it's tough. And I was watching, we had Siegenthaler and Hamilton come back for the beginning of the series, and Siegenthaler and Hamilton were playing together yesterday, and it almost seemed like Siegenthaler almost looked like he had no idea what Hamilton was going to do. Like,
There's
all our
also no
defensive
way
pairs
they're
are.
100%.
There's no way
No
they're
chance they're
100%.
100%.
Apparently, Pesci is not 100%. Like none of our pairs have played together for no more than 2 weeks at this point. You've got people playing without their regular partners on defense, so that's going to change things up a lot. I mean, you both have played defense. If you don't know what your partner is going to do or where
I
your
don't know if
partner's
I'd
going
say
to
I
go,
play
it's
defense.
Yeah, that's a.
well,
I think you're
Yeah.
I understand it's a relative term, Dean.
skill
I
set.
understand it's a relative term. However, you have been out there in the defensive position and not having zero idea what your partner is going to do. And I think
quickly, because we're
there's
talking
a lot
about
of
defense, that Jacob Slavin goal and the whole play leading up to that goal was disgusting. He bats
Yesterday?
the puck. Yeah, he bats the puck out of midair.
Yeah, out of that.
Then one hands it past the forward, gets it around. He goes down the line on the boards and then roofs it back corner on Markstrom. Jacob Slavin. We talk about Cale Makar, obviously so, and Luke Quinn Hughes, and we talk about all these awesome defensemen. Jacob Slavin, I'm ready to see. He's top 5 in the NHL defenseman. Not just for offense, just overall defenseman. He is so goddamn good. And, that tournament woke him up from and not really woke him up, but just woke him up to the overall fandom that is the NHL. And he's just ridiculous.
And you know what it is? It's one of those situations where, with the way that goaltenders play now, when you're coming down and you're coming from that angle, they're going to go down in a certain position and you're just going to try to roof it into that little corner. And, he could have missed it. He just happened to hit it. I mean, we've seen Jack Hughes do it where he's banking it off the ear of the goalies and in. That's
it was for me, it was more the overall, right?
The overall play, and the Devils had so many multiple chances to get out of the zone prior to that. That was just the final straw that leads to that goal. So that's really where a lot of that frustration for Devils fans was. But at the same time, it's that goal. I forget who I was explaining to yesterday, but that goal is kind of a percentage shot that these players will take now, knowing that the goalies will go in this, go down in a certain way, and there's that little hole that's going to be about that big that's there, and maybe you hit it 40% of the time, and the other 60% of the time it's either hitting the goalie in the mask or it's wide. But
they keep him 5. Let's see if they kept it 5. It's a bad hit.
God. He's on the ice on his knees.
It 5. Yep. You know what? In all honesty, I'm completely over Florida, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I am too already.
Sorry, Shorts Guy. I don't mean to. We're obviously changing topics now based on what's happening on TV, but I'm just like I'm over all this. It's like every other shift, there's like a questionable, possibly suspendable hit, and it's just like it's the law of averages, right? I mean, that's terrible.
Did he get misconduct?
It's not like a charging, leaving your feet, horribly violent, but it's just like you don't get any more vulnerable than that. And he literally just drives his head. He's on the ice and just drives his head into the friggin' boards.
Yeah, it's not like he hits him with his legs. He hits him with his shoulder in his back. That is horrible.
Like his head is there. He's established on the ice, and everyone's gonna be like, "Well, what's he supposed to do? He should have gotten up." That mentality blows my mind.
Yeah,
Neanderthal mentality is just like it's your fault that you got hit in a dirty fashion.
He was in a vulnerable
Shorts, I was going to say 2 things on your series. One, I don't think you guys are shooting enough on a goaltender and Freddie Anderson. Now he's out. We'll see what happens with him. Obviously, Kochetkov comes in. I don't think he shot enough in the series, and that kind of banged his hurt. But you guys were the 2nd and 3rd ranked power play and penalty kill, and you're getting destroyed in shorthanded power play. I think they had 9 goals total, right, between the power play and their short and penalty kill, and you guys are tied 6-6 in even strength goals.
We've Luke Hughes was the quarterback of the power play. And prior to that, Dougie Hamilton was out there, but Dougie Hamilton came back a week ago. So, when I don't want to kind of harp on the other injury, but Jack was out there on the power play too, which was a big loss for them. So it's
that's
kind of
massive loss,
it's
for you guys.
it's
Not
hard.
Well, you guys,
no, I know. I just
the biggest loss.
I hate to make it sound like an excuse, but at the
I
same
actually
time,
think
it's
your
like,
power play actually gained goals when he left. Not that. Listen, it we know Hughes should be on the power play. He's the but I actually think you guys gained in traction on power play when he actually left for injury. But yes, to your point, you're missing two of your best guys. Yeah.
I think Luke was the bigger catalyst for a lot of those power plays because he's the one that was starting it, and it's. But at the same time, too, Carolina's the top penalty killing unit, and watching the Devils have not changed their strategy in entering the zone because Carolina just stands you up at the blue line, and we're just not penetrating. We're not getting deep, and it's not happening.
Some of these power plays cannot adjust to an overly aggressive PK.
And the whole take it up and then pass it back to bring it in.
Everybody does that.
I know everyone does it. They do it in college
I don't know when it started.
I don't get it.
I understand that the point is to make it so the defense stops because then they stop at the blue line, but then you clog everything. And if you don't get it above sticks, it just gets deflected and stopped and sent back the other way.
Just dump and chase, man.
Yeah.
Just dump and, especially when you're playing against an aggressive penalty kill.
Yeah.
You've got to dump it and chase. You got to get someone like Timo Meier that's going to go down to the corner and not care who's there, but get the puck. But for some reason, you're right, Steven. They don't like to in-game adjustments or overall unit adjustments. Just seem to like it's like they'd rather smash their head against the wall because they're told that it's going to break the bricks.
Yeah, I mean it's partly. I think it is. I think a lot of it falls on the coaches for in-game adjustments as far as your system goes and adapting to who you're playing. But it also is. I mean, you gotta. There's two parties. There's the players and the coaches, and you have some coaches who just flat out refuse to do it, right? And then you have some players who just aren't capable of changing the system that they play with every single game.
Florida,
and especially on the fly. Yeah. Especially on the fly to just change it and all of a sudden change the dynamic and the structure. That needs to be taught throughout the course of the season. They can't just be like, all right, guys, these guys are bringing this, so now we need to do this. Everything that they're so used to is so routine. It's hard. So it's like, okay, so who's really responsible for it? Ultimately, it's the coach because I think there should be an adjustment taught throughout the course of the season as well.
Yeah,
and you don't just live and die by your system.
I also feel like that this series in particular, and I could be wrong, so if I am, you can call me out, but I feel like this series in particular, there hasn't been like a ton of time in between games, so it's like you can't really get a practice in to make any adjustments.
When they've changed, well, at least between going from Carolina to
2 games,
Jersey, they had 2 nights. They had 2 nights there. So otherwise, I think it's been pretty much average every other night, except for when you change venues.
Yeah, so it was 2 days in between, and then we had our
playoffs
game
for you. You don't
Sunday.
have. There's no time to adjust.
But then you get like Tampa, Florida, that didn't start until Tuesday.
That was so dumb.
Yeah, well, you get that, but
I don't know. I just feel but again, it's frustrating.
In arenas and stuff like that. That's all.
Yeah.
Canadians and Capitals, they announced fines. Jack Eye, McElrath, 25,000 each. Tom Wilson and Anderson were docked 5,000, so a couple fines. 2 quick things before we head out. You had David Carl, who turned down Chicago Blackhawks, which I love. I wouldn't want to go to Chicago Blackhawks, be their coach right now. So you have that one. And then you have Steven, your 2-time Cup winner, Mike Sullivan.
Yeah, but it's too late at this point.
Yeah,
we'll get out later. I was going to speak on this at length, so
we'll talk about it. Yeah, but just name it out. But we'll get a little more in depth. And
I will say though, David Clark turning that down. Maybe
you think you guys? I think he wants he wants a team with good young players. You think he'd want to go to to like Crosby?
It's so I think it's appealing in that the direction they're going, and this is part of what I was going to talk about at length, but just briefly as a prequel to what I'm going to talk about next week is I feel like every time a team wins something or is winning at something, every other team needs to replicate it. And this is what I'll go into exactly what Mike Sullivan's system was and why they won 2016, 2017, because he brought a system that nobody had an answer to.
Yeah.
And that being said, there's a couple other examples in there, but that being said, now the example is as far as like a soft rebuild on the fly, rebuild around the core is Washington, right? Everybody wants to do what Washington did. Maybe you miss the playoff. Well, I mean, they missed the playoff 3 straight years now, but you're never a bottom feeder, right? And you just build around and you acquire good young players, you acquire some picks, and this way you can make your team better on the fly, and you're still going to be competitive until the point where you get to Washington, who now is still I don't know if we all consider them a contender for the Cup based on who's playing right now, but they're a contender. Yeah. They're a contender to win the Stanley Cup. And the turnover was that. They lost their guys. They lost Backstrom. They lost Oshie. They lost Kuznetsov. All they had Leo Ovechkin left and whatever you want to call John Carlson at this point in his career. And then they brought in all these young guys. They had that Hershey Bears have been awesome for at least 2-3 straight seasons now, I think. They won the Calder last year. They could potentially win it again this year. But anyway, that's essentially Pittsburgh's system now. They do finally have some good young players that they didn't have before. So if you have, first of all, if you have the chance to coach Sidney Crosby, I mean, that's going to be appealing to anybody, no matter what. And then you have these good young players that you could potentially, implement your system. So now you're going to develop young guys at the same time as being like, around established Hall of Fame veterans. I think it's an appealing position. Maybe not for everybody, but I think it's more appealing than say Chicago. So
I mean, the only thing Chicago has going for it
is it has whether or not it's him. I think first of all, they haven't named anybody as far as being in contention, but I think good targets based on what Kyle Dubas said would be somebody like him or somebody like I can't remember his name. Florida. The guy who coached Sweden in the Four Nations.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Mike Sullivan for the assistant coach of the New Jersey Devils.
I'm pretty sure he might be a Rangers, so I'm hoping for it.
There's a good chance. That we're going to have that conversation next week, William.
We will,
because there's a lot to be said about this move.
I'd love it if he just became an assistant for the Devils over going to the Rangers. I would love.
Why do you think he would be? In what world do you think he would choose an assistant coach? Behind a coach he knows he's probably better than. In what?
He's just not going to choose. They're outsides.
Just to annoy you, Billy Dean. Just to annoy you.
Oh, he's 1,000% offsides. Okay, no goal.
Well, the Rangers have also talked about Carl too. He's still in the running, and they do like Dan Muse, who's in the organization. So we'll see what happens. But guys, your beers. My Casablanca 1-5. This is not good.
This is a 4, easy. By the way, 4. No goal, Florida. Disallowed, offside.
This is whatever I call it. Quenneville to the Rangers is their coach.
Yeah.
No, they already said no. They already said no. They already said no.
Oh, good.
They are not bringing him. He could go to Anaheim, which is a crazy thing. But
Quenneville head coach, Torts assistant.
Schwim,
Schwim, take it home.
Yeah, take her home, Schwim. You suck. No goal.
Shoot. Shoot.
Tap the sign.